Welcome to this quick dive into the Come Follow Me lesson for D&C 9028 to 31. See the link in the description for the full podcast on D&C 89 to 92, brought to you by the Speak Peace to My Soul channel.
You know, when you read through the Doctrine and Covenants, you see the Lord calling many of his servants by name. But it's actually pretty rare for him to single out a woman like this, especially in a revelation for the prophet. So when that happens, it's like a big flashing sign for us to pause and ask, okay, who was this person? What did she do to be remembered this way? So let's do just that. Let's dive into the amazing story of Vienna Jaques.
So this is the verse given to Joseph Smith in March of 1833. This is where we meet this faithful woman. The Lord calls her my handmaid, which is his beautiful title of honor, signifying someone who is humbly and totally dedicated to him. And he gives her this incredible promise that would literally shape the rest of her life, a promise of a place, of peace, of purpose. But here's the key. This scripture isn't the beginning of her story. It's actually the Lord's response to the faith and sacrifice she had already shown.
To really get what this scripture means, we have to get to know the woman behind this remarkable name, a woman whose life was this quiet, powerful testament to courage, consecration, and just unwavering discipleship.
Okay, so Vienna wasn't some young, impressionable girl when the gospel found her. Not at all. She was an established, independent woman in her mid-40s. Born in Massachusetts, she'd made her own way, working as a nurse in the bustling city of Boston. Now think about that time period. She was self-reliant, hardworking, saved her money. She was also deeply religious, but she always felt like something was missing from the churches she attended. And that spiritual hunger is what led her to get her hands on a copy of this strange new book called the Book of Mormon.
So when the book first arrived, she was busy. I think we can all relate to that. And she kind of set it aside. But then she had a vision, a powerful spiritual experience that basically told her, you need to open that book. And when she did, she said her mind became illuminated. As historian Brent M. Rogers points out, her conversion wasn't just some sudden impulse. It was a process. She studied, she prayed, and she received this powerful witness that this book was absolutely from God. Once she knew, she knew. She traveled to Kirtland, Ohio, and was baptized.
Now, Vienna's new faith wasn't a passive thing. Nope. It was immediate, it was all in, and it led to this quiet but profound act of consecration, an offering that would bless the church at a supercritical moment and, really, for generations to come.
Soon after she was baptized, Vienna offered the Lord everything she had. She consecrated her life savings to the church, $1,400. Now, I know that might not sound like a crazy amount of money today, but let's put it in perspective. Back in the 1830s, a skilled worker was lucky to make $1 a day. This was a small fortune saved up over a lifetime of hard work. It was literally everything she had in the world.
And her offering wasn't just generous, it was providential. I mean, the timing was perfect. It came at the exact moment the church leaders were struggling to buy the farm that would become the site for the Kirtland Temple. Her money helped make that happen. Joseph Smith later wrote to her that her offering was a saver of life for his financial worries. Think about that. Her quiet, personal sacrifice made a monumental public difference.
So it's in response to this incredible faith that the Lord gives her those promises we just read in section 90. But, as we see so often in the Lord's plan, right? Those divine promises were about to get tested. Big time. And almost immediately.
The Lord promised her an inheritance and that she could settle down in peace. So trusting in that, she makes the long journey to Jackson County, Missouri. But the peace she was looking for, it just wasn't there. She arrived right as violent mobs were starting to attack the saints. Instead of peace, she found persecution. Instead of settling down, she was driven from her home.
And Vienna was right in the middle of it all. When a mob destroyed the church's printing press, they threw the sacred, unbound pages of the Book of Commandments out into the street. And what did Vienna do? She courageously ran out to gather them up. As she's stooping down to rescue these precious revelations, a man stands over her and threatens her, saying, "This is just a prelude of what you have to suffer." Can you imagine? Her faith was being tested in the fire. But back in Kirtland, the Lord had not forgotten her, not for a second. The Spirit prompted Joseph Smith to write a personal letter to Vienna in Missouri. He told her how much her sacrifice meant, that the Lord remembered her offering, and that he, Joseph, would not forget her. This letter just shows this deep friendship and confirms that God is so personally aware of us and our sacrifices, especially when we feel like we're all alone in our trials. You know, those trials in Missouri could have broken anyone's faith, but they didn't break Vienna's. If anything, they seemed to make her stronger.
She remained a steadfast, faithful disciple for the rest of her long, incredible life, just living out that charge from the Lord to be faithful and not be idle.
And her journey of discipleship just kept on going for another 50 years. When Zion's camp arrived in Missouri, all sick with cholera, she was right there helping them. In Nauvoo, she was part of the very first baptisms for the dead in the Mississippi River. And then, in 1847, at 60 years old, can you even imagine? She drove her own wagon across the plains to the Salt Lake Valley. Her whole life was a masterclass in enduring to the end.
A year after getting to Utah, she wrote a letter to Brigham Young to humbly ask for that inheritance she'd been promised 15 years before. And this letter, wow, it tells you everything about her character. She wanted to contribute, not be a burden. And her number one priority, after a lifetime of turmoil, just to be close enough to the house of the Lord so she could walk there to worship. That's all she wanted.
Well, Vienna was given her lot, and she lived there in the peace the Lord had promised. So, why does her story matter so much for us today? What's the big takeaway from this quiet, faithful life?
Her life is just this powerful example of timeless gospel principles. First, it teaches us that the Lord sees and honors the quiet faith of all his children, men, women, famous or unknown. He sees us. It shows that consecration is about giving your whole heart and everything you have to build in God's kingdom. Her journey is also a huge reminder that divine promises are always fulfilled, but usually in the Lord's timing, and often after our faith gets a little bit of a test. And maybe the biggest lesson of all, that ordinary people, through their consistent faithfulness, can live truly extraordinary lives.
When Vienna passed away at the age of 96, her obituary gave this beautiful, simple summary of her life. She was true to her covenants, and she saw the gospel as a priceless treasure. I mean, what a legacy for a woman who just chose, day after day, again and again, to follow the Lord, no matter what it cost.
Vienna Jaques was never a famous leader. She wasn't looking for the spotlight. She was a quiet, constant disciple whose faith and complete consecration blessed the whole church in ways we're still benefiting from today. Her life is proof that the Lord sees, he remembers, and he rewards those who give their all to his cause. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. What principle from her life of faithful, quiet discipleship really stood out to you today?
As we close, it's worth noting that we still don't know for sure how Vienna's last name was pronounced. Some say Jaques, others Jaques. But what matters most is not the pronunciation, but what matters is the testimony her life still bears and the faith behind that name. Vienna was promised peace and an inheritance, yet her life was marked by hardship and delay. Her story teaches us that God's promises are certain, even when they unfold slowly and through adversity. And her willingness to obey, to consecrate, and to keep moving forward invites us to ask, how can I be more faithful in trial? How can I trust the Lord's timing with my own life? That's why her story still matters today. It calls us to patience, to obedience, and to deeper trust in the God who sees and honors every sacrifice. Thank you for joining this quick dive into Doctrine and Covenants 90. Until next time, may we remember him more, follow him closer, and rejoice in his light.